The first time that the infidelity occurred, Chris, you basically confessed it to Colleen. Was that a struggle for you to actually come clean that first time?
In a way it was, and then in a way it wasn't.
Yeah.
The shame and the guilt that goes with that sin can be so overwhelming that there just comes a point where you don't want to carry that anymore, and you don't want to hurt the Lord anymore, and you definitely don't want to hurt your family anymore. So I came clean on that one. But where I failed in that was, at first, after the confession, things were working and things were okay. But my ability to forgive myself and to accept God's forgiveness, I didn't do that. I couldn't get over the shame and the guilt, and it was our pride that we wanted to keep it quiet, that we didn't reach out and get help. In 2020 hindsight now,
yeah.
I sure wish we had after that first time.
And then there were subsequent times. Was the guilt, the shame you were referring to, was that basically what was a motivating factor, or what was taking place in your heart and mind?
I just developed a lot of anger between me and Colleen, and I didn't care. I went into all-out rebellion. The Bible talks about the Lord giving us over to a reprobate mind. I believe that's what I fell into, and was not going to please the Lord, was not going to please her, was going to serve self, and I was really fertile ground for Satan, and He provided.
Well, you guys have written a book. You have been transparent about sharing your story. Obviously, there was something that took place where God mended and healed your marriage relationship. Colleen, what contributed to that?
What contributed to that was when we separated after that fourth and final affair, was I was just really relying on God, and became probably closer to the Lord during that time than ever before in my life. I'd loved the Lord for a long time, but really just, when we go through something very difficult, I think a lot of times it shouldn't come to that, but that's when we rely mostly on the Lord. And so I really did, and really prayed and sought Him. And of course we had our family that I would have loved to preserve if at all possible, but I really had sort of closed that door in my mind when I found out about this. But I started just seeing things happening in Chris, things that only God could do. And so I knew that if God was in it, then I could trust God, and I would be willing to consider possibly staying in the marriage.
Well, Chris, Colleen said she observed that God was doing something in your life. Talk about what was going on with you as He began to start bringing the two of you back together.
As you can imagine, over those 4 years of lying and cheating and being deceitful and being separated from God, my prayer life was dead. I would open my Bible and read it. It was dead. My relationship with the Lord was dead. We separated on a Sunday evening, and I went to a hotel that evening. And it was after I had repented that day, it was immediately that the Lord stepped in and began to do things in my life. It was miracle after miracle starting that first night. I really sensed that I was praying and He was with me. I did read my Bible that evening, and it made sense to me. I could understand it. So that was the first part. I went through a major transformation of not just the sin of the adultery, but my perception of grace and mercy. God changed that. Just a whole new appreciation for worship. That changed. Being able to tell the truth. That was a big thing for Colleen. To all of a sudden to not have to doubt what I was telling her. And we had to work through some really, really hard things after everything had come out, and we had a lot of details to go through and to work out. But the fact that I was able to tell the truth, the stories were making sense, they were adding up, and it gave Colleen peace that God was changing my heart.